So, what do you want? My name?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, just tell me your name.
Oh, Nicholas Mester. Mester.
Can you tell me about your childhood?
My childhood? Oh, I was born and raised in the backyard of Studebakers over there on South Lafayette Street. Oh, about every day along about 4:30, 5 o'clock, we'd hear the doggone train coming. By golly, we'd all run down to the Broadway there and watch the train go into Studebaker's backyard there, and we'd wait for him to come pulling out there with the empty boxcars, so we can hop the cars and throw out the lumber, cut the lumber up, and we used it to heat the house during the winter.
Tell me about your older brothers and sisters.
Older brothers and sisters. Joe and Sarah and Irene. Well, they were all, during my childhood, they were all grown up and married, and they were all married. And then I was about in 19, I forget the year, 35, I think it was in 35 or 34, early childhood, our family broke up. I lost my parents. And once the family broke up, then my oldest sister Sarah said, well, we'll take Nicholas. He can move in with us. I was I think I was about 15 at the time. But then I guess she resented the fact that I was living there, more or less. My sister told me the minute, as soon as I became 16, you can quit school, quit high school, and go to work. As soon as I became 16 in November of that year, she more or less made me quit school and go to work. Right after that, I got a job as a busboy, working downtown South Bend for Jimmy's Lunch. It was run by a Greek with a Hungarian cook. All the time that I was working downtown, I got tired of walking back and forth, so I bought a brand new bicycle. And it happened to be the day the circus was in town. It was the same day I got paid. I chained up my brand new bicycle at the Shell station across from the Prairie Avenue circus grounds. Went into the circus and bought a ticket and went into the circus. I decided right then and there, to travel with the circus. So I got the job, and after I got the job, went to work, then got on the train, by golly, and pulled out with it. Took off. Didn't even tell my sister I was going or anything. When I came back from the circus, my sister Sarah, I don't know whether she told me to get a job or do something. So I decided to join the Army. Oh yeah, then when I was in the service, I think I was staying at my sister Sarah's place. She'd take me back because she was kind of proud of me because I was in the service wearing the uniform and all that stuff. I wasn't much for soldiering. I never was much for soldiering. So I volunteered, got a job in the kitchen, part-time cook and pastry chef, more or less. January of '41, I got discharged and went back to South Bend. One night I went downtown, and sure enough, there was another carnival in town. Then when they left, my heart went with them. I kept thinking about that poor Carnival leaving town without me, and I just couldn't do it. I found them. And I got a job on the front end as a stick, where the guy behind the counter would furnish you with the money, and you'd play the numbers, and just to get the suckers to show up, because the wheel was crooked. They stopped the doggone wheel. The guy behind the counter could stop the wheel, and one of my main reasons was for joining that group there was to find out how in the hell they stopped the wheel, and I found out how they stopped the wheel, but to describe it and everything else is another. It'd take too much. I worked for Ham and Bacon, and we had a nice flash. They called it a flash, a display of Armored Star hams and flash. We had a whole bunch of nice-looking dummy hams up there. Dummies. We had one real one. We had to have one real one. But most of them were all dummies, dummy hams. And all we give away for prizes was small packages of bacon, Armour Star bacon. Then all of a sudden, I heard about Pearl Harbor. So I went back down to the recruiting office. I re-enlisted in the Air Force. They built a movie theater at this air base in Marianna, Florida. And so I started hanging around the movie theater. Finally, some major saw me, and he told the sergeant there, and he said, "Tell that guy, by God, he keeps hanging around here, I'm going to put him to work." And the sergeant in charge there at the theater said, "Well, that's what he wants." So that's how I got my start in the movie theater at this Marianna Air Base. And that lasted that went on for a couple of years. And then the major caught us playing cards. He caught us gambling. And that was the end of it. So then in a couple of weeks, by golly, a shipping order came out. I ended up going overseas to India. I ended up docking at Bombay. So I was a corporal at that time. So they assigned me to the mailroom. One day they assigned me to the job of going to the air base. And I said, I can't drive. "You can't drive?" "No," I said, I don't know how to drive. So they said, "Well, go down to the motor pool, tell them." So I went down to the motor pool, and I had the authority to pick up a vehicle, but I said I can't drive. They give me a doggone Jeep, and they said, "There it is. There it is." I had a hell of a time there for a while, but I finally managed. I finally got the thing going after I got stuck a couple of times. But anyways, that was my experience where I learned how to drive.
The next time I met with my grandfather, we talked about how we met my grandmother, Teresa Goheen. He told me about marrying her and starting a family with her and having 4 children, and about their first house and their second house and the jobs that he had to support that family. Nicholas walked me through over 80 years of his life in those 2 short sessions. This film represents but the first 20 or 30 years of that life. But from watching this film, you can pick up on a trend that carries throughout his entire life. He is a man of experience, he is a man of courage, and he is a man of spontaneity. At the risk of sounding overly sentimental, I'd say I'd be honored to end up like my grandfather.